So before we get started, I just want to first take a moment to acknowledge the land that we're gathered on here today. And so the London area has been cared for and stewarded for a very long time by a number of Indigenous groups, and namely the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Lenapehoek people. And then we also have 3 First Nations that are our neighbors here. So I just want to acknowledge them, who are the Chippewa of the Thames First Nations, the Oneida Nation of the Thames, and the Munsee Delaware Nation. And a reminder too that this Friday is also a day for truth and reconciliation. So at the Urban League, we're very much aware that in terms of advancing reconciliation and right relations, and that we have a role to play in that as leaders in our community, and that everyone, community members, leaders, and everyone in between have a role to play. So, as you know, you're here at an all-candidates meeting, and the Urban League has been organizing these all-candidate meetings for every ward in London for a very long time. So we've had a group of volunteers, a volunteer-run committee, come together since January of this year. So we're coming on 9 months of putting in a lot of work to organize these all-candidates meetings, and we're very thankful and very proud of the work that our volunteers have done to pull so many people together tonight and throughout the month. So we're a little more than halfway through our all-candidates meetings. We've had maybe 2/3 of them, and we have a few more that are coming down this week. So the organizing committee is composed of individuals both within the Urban League, volunteers, and then from a number of organizations throughout London. So in particular, we've had folks from ANOVA, Climate Action London, Inclusive Economy London Region, London Cycle Link, London Environment Network, London Intercommunity Health Centre, London Scholar of Racialized Leaders, London Middlesex Local Partnership, Pillar Nonprofit Network, and Young London. So a great representation from organizations that are doing great work across London. So we're just going to ask that everyone please be respectful to the candidates and your fellow audience members tonight. We'd also like to encourage those of you who are in the audience who do social media to go ahead and tag us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. Our tags are at Urban League of London on Facebook or at ULLDN on Twitter and Instagram, respectively. We also want to thank Laurier High School for their support in providing this meeting space, and the London Community Foundation, who gave us some funding to be able to organize these all-candidates meetings. And we just also want to remind people that the London Community Foundation every couple of years releases their vital signs report, and so their last report was in 2021. It's basically a biannual check of how we're faring on some significant issues in the City of London, and the latest report focuses on making systemic change by coming together and participating in collective action. So you can see that report at bethechangelondon.ca. Also, a big thank you to the folks at Fanshawe College who are filming the event for broadcast tonight. All right, before we dive in, I'm going to just explain some of the ground rules that we're going to follow tonight. So what we're going to do is I'm going to draw candidates' names from this envelope to start to determine a speaking order. And so every candidate is going to have 2 minutes to be able to say opening statements, introduce themselves for an introduction. And then, so we'll just figure out that speaking order, and then we will go forward after that. Every candidate will have a turn to draw a question. We have a number of questions that the candidates have been provided with beforehand from this box here. So you'll be able to draw a question, and then you'll have 2 minutes to respond to that question, and then each other candidate will have 1 minute to respond to that response or to rebut. And we'll change up the order, so we won't keep going in the same order, and we'll be able to change that up a little bit. If we have time toward the end, we'd like to open it up and to hear from you. I think I'll be able to make some time, but if that's something that folks want to do toward the end, I'll put a call out, and it would be great to hear some questions from folks in the audience here tonight. Again, a reminder, hoping that everyone can be respectful. Also a reminder to our candidates, our timekeeper Selma here will let you know how you're doing on time. So when there's 30 seconds left, she'll hold up the yellow And when there's no time left, she'll hold up the red. So if you could please pay attention to Selma and try to stay on time, and we can all get out of here tonight informed and in a timely manner. That would be great. All right. Before we begin, I also just wanted to point out the candidates in the room that are running as school board trustees. I think we might have a few here tonight. Could you put up your hand if you're a school board trustee? There's one over here and one over. Okay, we have two trustees. Did you want to shout out your names? I'm Laurier and Pizzolato. Okay, and? Christine Morgan are here tonight. So after the meeting and the discussion, there will also be a bit of time. We have a bit more time in the auditorium if you want to stick around, talk to the candidates, either for council or for school board as well. Alrighty. And then in terms of fire exits, we'll want to follow the green signs there, just right out front. You can go out. There's the front doors right there, and then we have a few washrooms just over here to the right. So, without further ado, I think we will get started. All right, so we have Steve Hillier. If you could take 2 minutes and just introduce yourself and your platform.
Hello, I'm Steve Hillier. I'm the councilor for Ward 14. I'm a husband and father. I've lived here for 28 years. You will have to forgive me. I'm sweating a lot tonight. I had a major surgery 5 weeks ago, so I have a very large ice pack on my hip. I'm a manufacturing engineer. I started the bakery at the Western Fair called Canada Comfort Foods. What else? I don't pretty much care for the press, as you can tell. I just get the work done. My residents contact me and we get the work done. When people ask me today, says, well, you're going to debate, you're going to have a list of all the things you accomplished. So we started writing them all down, and we just realized we have done an awful lot in this little while, especially with COVID on. So I am very proud of what we've done in the last 4 years, and I'm hoping you'll re-elect me again for the next 4. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Dannelyn Williams, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Dannelyn Williams. I'm lived in London all my life. I'm a former police officer. I'm really looking forward to this election. I'm hoping to see new things brought to Ward 14. I know that we've been in a bit of a stalemate in this area, and would really like to get things done. I'm the daughter of a police officer as well. I come from a very long line of police officers, and I'm Anishinaabe, which means I'm a First Nation. I'm one of the first First Nation candidates to run in a municipal election, but that's neither here nor there. I promised to get the job done, and I'm really hoping that we can come to an agreement on things that are going on in London amongst the councillors. I know that we have homeless issues, we have transit issues, we have roadway issues. We have a lot of issues going on that encompass all of London and not just Ward 14. So I'm hoping to be that voice for everybody, and that we can solve some of these issues and hopefully work our way and become a city that is admired and looked at for some of the ways that we have taken ourselves and driven and helped all around, and just taking a new outlook and a new perspective. Thank you.
Great. And we'll go to Sarah, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Layman, and I'm running to be your next city councilor of Ward 14. I live in Pond Mills, just around the corner, and I couldn't have chosen a better community to spend my life with my partner, Nick. I've always felt a strong sense of community, and caring for your neighbors nurtures that community. I've been a part of very important work for many nonprofit organizations in our city that provide important frontline services to our community, like Community Live in London, Pillar Nonprofit Network, Alice Sadi Association, Family Services Thames Valley, Children's Health Foundation, and the London Abused Women's Center. I chose to run because I care about the quality of life of every Londoner in our city, especially those in Ward 14. People deserve to feel safe in their neighborhoods. Families deserve to feel safe on their roads and sidewalks as they take their kids to school. All Londoners deserve to feel safe in their homes and on their way to work every day. I care about the well-being and welfare of all Londoners from all walks of life. I believe London needs a voice that isn't afraid to speak loudly about the things that matter most to the people. We need progress now in areas like affordable housing, access to social services, reliable public transit, safety and inclusivity in our city, and protection for our green spaces as we continue to experience climate crises as well as while our city grows. I care. We deserve a counselor who is compassionate, who's empathetic, who hears your concerns and advocates for others, no matter your status in the community. I will be that counselor for you with that voice that's so loud that no one can ignore it. I hope that on October 24th, I can count on your support and also your vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So now we'll go into the pre-provided questions, and I'm going to go to Sarah and let you draw the first question. All right, so a reminder that the candidate that draws a question has 2 minutes to respond, and then the other candidates will each have 1 minute to rebut, and then they'll be able to draw questions and have 2 minutes each as well. So this question is with regard to employment and unemployment issues. What actions do you believe need to happen locally so that all children and youth have equal learning opportunities regardless of geographic location, background, or socioeconomic status? Sarah.
Thank you. So I think there are so many things that we need to do in this community so that children and youth have equal learning opportunities on all levels. A few of the ideas that I've thought about are programs in our schools like breakfast programs. I remember being in high school and being able to have the opportunity, if I didn't have the chance to have breakfast in the morning, there was a safe space in my school that I could go to, that I could get that camaraderie of other folks in my school and also some food so that my belly is full and my mind is ready to learn. I also think that we need to invest in programming and training within our schools that expand upon skill sets that students have. We need to broaden our horizons in what is offered in terms of our curriculum and make sure that curriculums across the city all match. No matter you're in Ward 1, Ward 5, Ward 14, all students from all levels of learning deserve to learn on every level that's possible. I think that we can do that quite easily if we try. We very much need to invest in our public school system and ensure that the places that we are sending our children to every day are safe, inclusive environments for learning, and that everybody that comes to those schools feels safe to do so. Thank you.
Great. Okay, and we'll go to Steve next, please.
Thank you very much. And I agree with everything she says, and I did agree with the morning lunch programs. They were wonderful. I'm reading this, and I'm also thinking a lot of this is education, so it's coming from the school board. From a council standpoint, regardless of geographical location, we have to make sure that we have transit available to get to them, and we also have to have the services available in each of those areas so people do get equal opportunities to learn. I don't see how we can, as a council, actually help people with their learning, because that is straight from the school board. So I feel it's, thank you. I feel it's straight from the geographic end of it is something we can help with, but I don't think we can help with helping the learning itself, because we are the city, not the school board. Thank you.
Great, and Danalynn, please.
Yes, I agree with Sarah and many of the points she made. I would like to say, and I'm very proud of it, my father did start the breakfast program for all students in Ontario, and I'm very proud of that. As far as the curriculum goes, like I said, like Steve said, we are really not involved in that. That is something that has to be put forward through the school board. As far as transit goes, I believe that we need to revamp our transit. And as Steve said, that is something that has to be looked at. And I'd like to know what Steve did about that as far as working in that ward.
Not directly to that. Yeah, next time though.
This is exciting. I know. And there you go.
Okay, this question is about governance, and so Danalynn, you'll have 2 minutes. The pandemic presented new and unprecedented challenges to our city. In looking ahead to a pandemic recovery strategy, what are your top 3 priorities and why?
I think the top 3 priorities for the city during the pandemic was making sure that everyone was looked after in the city, making sure that everyone was safe. And I think, our council, I believe, did that. We abided by what was brought through the Ontario government and abided by those. As far as the other things that took place, I want to say that this question really goes back to not a municipal government, but the Ontario government and also the federal government. So what our council did was actually very good. They followed the rules. They abided by what was put down through our premier and really went with that. So I'm going to say that the top 3 priorities, well, we made sure that people were fed. We were really well looked after in our city. Our transit system still ran so that people could get to the jobs that they had to get to, the workers, the hospital staff and that. So yes, I believe that was, we were really well looked after. And, who was expecting a pandemic? We weren't expecting this. This was something that was kind of thrown on us. And I think that our city council did an excellent job. That's what I'm going to say.
Great. We'll go to Sarah, please.
So post-pandemic recovery strategy, there are 3 priorities I think our city needs to take. One being housing and affordability. Housing is a basic human right for everyone, and I think we need to really take care of those who are experiencing precarious housing situations right now, especially addressing our unhoused population that is really struggling. I also believe that we really need to take a look into our transit systems that we have in place. I think we need to look into expanding them so that folks are able to get to their jobs. I think that we need to be prepared for people going outside of London because they can't afford to live in the city because they can't get around the city. Also, neighborhood development. Because of the pandemic, we were stuck inside. We need to start looking into local projects that build a sense of community and belonging. We need to reconnect with our neighbors and also build small business infrastructure by creating these opportunities to bring people together so that we can stop feeling so isolated from our communities. Thank you.
And Steve.
Well, first, working with the federal government because they're announcing a 50% reduction in homelessness in the next 50 years. So obviously homelessness is going to be on the table and we'll be working with them partnership. What else? Transit. For me, transit is a big issue because I worked with former Councilor Squire with the LTC before COVID to get enhanced transit to our industrial areas and to our remote neighborhoods, and it was starting to go, and then COVID hit. It is being launched again now with enhanced services, with more enhanced services coming to the Maple Leaf plant area once it comes online. The rest, I would say, is infrastructure, because if you know anything about what's underneath our roads, we need a lot of help. We actually have sewers downtown that are 100 years old. And I can't believe we still haven't got the downtown done, because it feels like downtown has been under construction now for 6 years. Those are my priorities. Thank you.
I live on one of those streets with those sewers. All right. And we'll give it to Steve to draw.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Steve, so you have 2 minutes. What are the 3 most important city services to maintain and grow? Explain why you picked these.
Most important city services. Right now, it would be transit. And I'm going to pick that one number and talk about it for a second, because this is something that's near and dear to my heart. I had conversations with the current government, the provincial government, talking about our transit services and how once a city starts reaching 500,000 people, it should be brought in-house. Because the problem with our transit services, the routes are profit-based. So they go to all the profitable areas, but they don't go to the jobs, because the jobs, they only need 1 or 2, 3 buses a day. And that's the issue. We need to bring it in-house, because to me, transit is the lifeblood of our city. So are the roads of our city. If you've seen what's going on with the roads, we replaced Veterans Memorial once and then did it again 4 years later because we didn't have a proper contract with the road manufacturer. That road broke down in 2 years. We need proper contracts with all our manufacturers and installers of our roads, so we're getting longer terms of it. Right Right now I'm in talks with the city because Highbury, they're talking about replacing Highbury and they want to replace with asphalt. I've lived in London most of my life. That has been concrete since the late 80s and it's survived this long. And I am pushing for concrete again because you know what? It has a much longer life expectancy than asphalt. And I do not want to tear apart one of our major infrastructures coming into the city every 5 to 7 years. It doesn't make sense to me. Thank you.
Great. And we'll go to Danalynn, please.
Well, the first is, again, transit. I believe that that's one of the things that we really have to look at. And I don't believe that, I don't believe what Mr. Hillier says, that he looked into it and he spoke to the Ontario government, because I believe that if he did, that would have been looked after. We do need the buses to head out to those areas. We are in a really bad situation right now with homelessness. Homelessness is one of the top priorities I think that we have in our city, and we need to get the people back to working in the downtown area and start working on the homeless problem. The other are our roadways, and yes, the roadways are terrible.
Great. And Sarah?
Thank you. I would agree. Transit is absolutely one of the number one concerns that we should be thinking about. Also, services like our EMS services are so important. We have so many emergencies around our city, and our city is becoming so large, we're not able to properly service the outer parts of the wards. Also, our infrastructure, we've already heard it. Street construction, sidewalks, recreational spaces, safety in our city, those should be accessible to all people, no matter where you live in this city. And also housing. It's a basic human right. We have so much affordable housing here in London and it's sitting empty. So how do we make it accessible to those folks who are in need? We need to start thinking about unsiloing and creating wraparound services for these unhoused folks. With all of these nonprofits we have in our city, we could really revitalize our downtown area. We have so many services already accessible to us. We just need to make sure that they're all working together. Oh, yeah.
Okay, Sarah, this is a question on belonging. So this is the first municipal election since the June 6th Islamophobic murder of the Asfal family. What is City Council's role in combating Islamophobia, and how do you plan on participating as a City Councilor?
Thank you for this question. I always like to start by saying I do not condone any acts of violence against any member of any faith, community, religion, racialization, newcomers, immigrants, anyone. I think it was a horrible, horrible situation that happened in our city. The things we can do proactively municipally is support Bill 86, our London Family Act. It provides anti-racism training for frontline workers and public sector organizations, including training on anti-Indigenous racism, anti-Black racism, anti-Asian racism, anti-Semitism, and Islamophobia. We need to work with all levels of government. Yes, our city can do things, but we also need to look provincially and federally at strategies that we can implement together and hold people accountable for hate crimes. If something occurs, we need to be able to hold people accountable. Thank you.
Great. And we'll go to Steve, please.
Thank you. Holding people accountable, that is number one. It is getting bad. This was very hard on all of us. It was horrible. How do you plan on participating as councillor? Personally, it's ignorance is the issue we're facing right now. So many people just don't know about other cultures, and they get their information from the news or a little piece of paper. We need more events and more things that are immersive and bringing people in so they actually understand these other cultures. I know when all of us, when we were growing up, if someone says, oh, you got to learn this, they stick something in front of it. Well, it's only as good as the information in front of you. You got to be able to go to something and immerse yourself in it and feel it. I personally love going to the International Food Festival because it's food from around the world and you can be immersive in it. It's the first stage. I find you start with the food, you start with the music, then you get into the culture. I find that's the best way. And this is a tough one because this was very hard on all of us. We were at the vigil, we were at all of these. I think the only way is just putting on events and putting on education and actually combating Islamophobia and having
I think that's time, Steve.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Let's go to Danalynn.
Yes, it was a very sad day for London, and it was a mark on London that should have never happened. We need to start educating our children in our schools. We need to start understanding one another. And what better way than to have a diverse council? Okay, we have a system in our council where I believe we have one woman on the council who wears a hijab. And what better way to have more individuals and minorities on our council with different points of views that come in and can educate others about their backgrounds, their history, and who they are. Thank you.
All right, now we have one about the environment. So, pollution of the Thames River is a complex problem that includes raw sewage being dumped during high rainfalls, phosphorus leaching into the river, causing algae blooms in Lake Erie, and garbage going into the river and contaminating the water source and that of neighboring First Nations communities. So what, if anything, will you do to address this complex pollution problem?
Okay, I guess in the beginning of my introduction, I should have informed you that I own a company, a nonprofit company, and we deal with phragmites. With that we look after the waterways and look after the First Nation waterways, as a matter of fact. Now, the sewage that is dumped into our rivers, that's uncalled for, and we should really look at revamping our city projects as far as our water systems that help filtrate. We shouldn't be over dumping and putting the sewage back into the Thames River. That's just absolutely uncalled for and terrible. We need a better system. And I know that they started off rebuilding the system to try and do an overflow, but we need to do more. We cannot be dumping sewage. And you wonder why the water doesn't freeze at the forks at the Thames in Greenway Park? Because that's sewage, that's warmer water being dumped into our system. And we need to stop doing that. Now, I forgot to tell you at the beginning, I also went to Fanshawe College for environmental technology, and so those are near and dear to my heart. Is the systems that we studied, why they're dumping the sewage in the Thames, because it's an overflow. There's too much sewage, and the city is not growing. I mean, the city is growing, but our sewer system is not growing to take the excess waste. So we need to really look after that.
Great. All right. And I'll go to Sarah, please.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely agree with everything you just said. And also, we can take aspects from projects that the city have undertaken, like the One River Plan for the Springbank Dam, and we can take those projects and expand them and try and adapt them so that they fit other situations like this. We can also communicate with existing organizations like Green Space Alliance, Reforest London, the London Environmental Network, and Upper Thames River Conservation Authority to collaborate on a solution with those experts that know so much about the situation. Also, the sewer infrastructure that we have in place for our city right now is not doing the job it needs to be done. We all at this table understand that and agree, I think. And so we really need to take on that infrastructure piece too and adapt and improve those sewage systems so that we're not running into these problems having this sewage come into our waterways. Thank you.
Great. Let's go to Steve.
Thank you. Yes, cross-connected sewers are one of the biggest problems we still have to solve, and they are literally 85, 90 years old. If you go into Old North London, I'll be honest, after a bad storm, it has a flush right into the Thames River. I actually have a map. I've asked staff to identify all the remaining cross-connected sewers so we can start eliminating them, because it's taking too long. It should have been done a long time ago. And the fact that we're still dealing with it, go down the Thames after a storm and just look at these great big storm drains and look at the flushable wipes. Where do you think they're coming from? They're not coming down someone's sink. Thank you.
Oh, that's only halfway. You still have more.
Oh, sorry. I thought you held it up. I'm sorry. Terribly sorry. Yes, and also the leaching problem. Yes, we have a serious problem with the leaching into our rivers from the phosphates and the fertilizers and everything. We need our provincial and federal governments to step up and change that, but we also need them to be working in partnership with, I was going to say all our large manufacturing, all our large industrial farms, because I think they're one of the issues as well, because they're one-crop farmers. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I'm not grabbing anything. There we go.
All right, I know transit has been an active theme tonight, and we're going to talk about it some more. So what are some of the ways that we can encourage active transportation and public transit in London, and how much of a priority is this issue for you?
Which one do you want? Transit.
Active transportation and transit.
It's not even on there.
It's called like moving around the city.
Oh, is that what they call it? Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. Okay, well, we need a transit system that actually works for the people. Like I said before, our transit system is profit-based and it needs to be changed. Right now, you can get to Masonville a whole lot faster than you can get to the industrial areas. Well, not to be rude, but I would rather have people working than going shopping. People will find the shopping districts, but getting to work, that's usually the difference. Right now, we in our ward, the original K-Cree for the last 3 years has been trying to put on another shift, and they can't because their workers can't get there. So I think we need to work on that. Sorry. No, that's good. Thank you.
Great. All right, and we'll go to Danalynn, please.
Yes, actually, we do need to revamp our transit system, and I do agree with Steve in that area. But I'd like to know, why wasn't that done in the 4 years that he was here on council? Why was that not looked after when we knew Maple Leaf, Cakery, a lot of these industries were going in? Why was that not done? So is that what's going to happen in the next 4 years? That if we re-elect Steve, that we'll turn around and be back in the same situation sitting here 4 years from now saying, why didn't we take care of that? Thank you.
All right, and we'll go to Sarah, please.
Thank you. So at this point, I don't think it's a matter of encouragement. As cost of living increases in all areas of the city, cars are going to become a commodity that many will not be able to afford in this city. So we need to implement strategies around active transportation now so people who need safe bike lanes and access to active transportation can do so safely and efficiently. If we can create bike lanes that work for both the cyclists and the folks who drive cars, then I think everybody in the city would be a whole lot happier. And I've been out into some of the rural areas recently too, and a lot of cyclists do live out there, and there are no accessible active transportation or bike lanes at all. So I think we also have to think about our folks out in the rural areas of London too, who have been kind of left out of the conversation, because they also would really like to see active transportation come to their communities. Thanks.
All right, so we're back to the environment here. London's resource recovery strategy proposes a 60% waste diversion target. The Green Bin program is expected to help reach the goal. What are some of the other ways we can meet that target?
So at the moment, green bins, I believe, are only serving single family homes or dwellings that aren't apartment buildings. So what we need to do is we need to encourage apartment buildings and other sorts of housing developments. We need to get them to sign on with city collectors and with the green bin program. Maybe we're able to offer a deal where, apartments who use private collection maybe get a rebate or a deal for using city collection so that they can also have green bins that are available to all the apartment buildings. We can also investigate the feasibility of zero waste projects within the city, or look out for contracts with developers and industry that promote low waste or zero waste in their production processes. Again, encouraging the city collection over private collection, I think, could help a lot. Thank you.
Great. Let's go to Steve, please.
Thank you very much. Yes, green bins are coming, and they are good, and I agree with them. One thing that's missing in the green bin program, one thing that's missing in our entire program, is a green bin program and a proper recovery program for our industry, for our restaurants. If you see what gets thrown away in the back of them, it's actually kind of scary. Like the amount of food that's thrown away daily is well, it's insane. Pardon my French. I'm sorry, I'm having a problem right now, and I have to go for a walk. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm just gonna go.
Okay, let's go to Danalynn.
Okay, the green bin program is an excellent idea. I was just at a friend's in Markham this weekend, and the green bin program was there, and I was just in awe. And I think that if we educate our children in the schools and show them that this is the way that life is going to be in our system, that things will take off. And as far as that's one of the things. As far as our transit, we have to, and it's going back to transit again, but we have to take the stigma away from it so people are parking their cars and taking transit a little more. Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll maybe just keep going for it, and hopefully Steve can rejoin us, and if not, we'll stick with Dannelyn and Sarah for now.
Okay. We will.
All right, so we have another on belonging here. Many in our community feel like they don't belong, especially newcomers, Indigenous communities, other marginalized groups. What do you believe needs to be done to ensure everyone feels like they belong?
Well, I think we need to have open arms, and I know that as an individual, coming from a community, that I've always felt like I belonged in London. But I have friends, and I know that they feel that they don't belong. And I think that we need to start educating individuals and understanding. You know, if you were to put a blinder up in front of me today while I'm speaking, and you didn't see my long dark hair, and I didn't tell you that I was Indigenous, your point of view would be totally different. And I think that we have to stop looking at individuals and taking and going, oh, this is who this is. We have a candidate running for mayor right now, and I'm sure that the city is sitting back looking at him. A lot of members in our community are going, oh, because he's of a different religion, because he's of a different faith, that they're looking at that and going, I don't think I'll vote for him, because they believe that things are being taken away from them. And it's not. We are all trying to strive and live in harmony in a community based like London. And London, I think, as we grow and we see individuals come in like myself, or we see others come in that are different, and we understand that we all think the same. We all are after the same type of lifestyle, that we'll understand one another and we'll be able to live in harmony, and London will grow. Thank you.
Great. Sarah, please.
Thank you. So I think that all levels of government need to take steps to ensure that any person who lives in our community feels safe and listened to. We have so many MPs, MPPs in our community that could partner with us on a local municipal level to start campaigns and strategies so that we can try and promote an inclusive environment in London. We need to spend time and energy within this city promoting events that are specific to other cultures that reflect the true diversity of London's population. And also we need more community events in all parts of the community that will create a sense of safety and belonging. If we have events, like Steve said earlier, that focus on other cultures' food, other cultures' music, culture, people can get to know one another and really feel that sense of belonging and safety. The more we create these safe communities and neighborhoods where we feel that we can connect with one another, then I think people are going to still start to feel more like that they belong. Thank you.
Great. Welcome back, Steve.
Sorry.
We'll give you a second to get started here.
Sorry, it's just been, I'll be honest, I wasn't, my doctor told me not to even come tonight, but I'm here.
Okay. Well, if you need to leave again, just let me know.
No.
No
Where are we
worries.
at? Sorry.
I'll give you a hot second to just to readjust, and then we'll go to Danalynn to draw the question, and I'll let you be last to respond.
Thank you.
All right, another belonging question. So looking at the fact that there was a 50% rise in reported racially motivated hate crimes in London Middlesex County between 2020 and 2021, what tangible actions do you think need to happen to change this trend? And Danalynn, if you could respond first, please.
Education. I talked to you about that, education. Sarah has brought up some great points about international food festivals. Now, getting the people out to those, because what happens in a situation, and I can speak from experience, we have powwows, and sometimes people just don't feel like they're able to attend those powwows because they feel a little outnumbered. But, you know, we have to be able to put our blinders and take those off and see everybody in a light. And, you know, I think that we as London need to start and stop. Like the other day, I noticed that 3 MPs signed on Mr. Josh Morgan. And I think to myself, you couldn't split it up, and somebody couldn't have taken Khalil, but that's not the point. The point is that we need to open our hearts and our minds, and we need to start seeing one another as human beings, and we need to develop, maybe educate the students in school, have different, take them to the mosque, let them see that it's not any different. I went to the mosque myself when I first started this journey because I wanted to know, what was it all about? And they were so beautiful. Everything was just beautiful. They showed me around. I wanted to go to the synagogue to see how things went on there. So it's a matter of us taking the time to learn about other cultures, and it's up to our city councilors to push that and make that known to people that they need to get out, and we need to encourage us as leaders.
Okay, thank you, Danalynn. Let's go to Sarah, please.
Yeah. Education, I believe, also is very, very key. And also, I have already mentioned this, supporting Bill 86, the Our London Family Act. You know, having anti-racism training for frontline workers and public sector organizations that include training on anti-Indigenous racism, anti-Black racism, anti-Asian racism, anti-Semitism, and Islamophobia. We need to, again, hold people accountable for their actions and also work with agencies focused with the work that we see in the community with these vulnerable groups and meet those community needs with them and ask what they need instead of assuming what they need. Let's work together as a community group and make sure we're actually having these conversations with the folks who are most impacted by these hate crimes. Thank you.
All right, and Steve.
Thank you. Well, one thing, pretty much the last 4 years in the United States has taught us that ignorance and online is a dangerous measure. We have seen so many people that don't have a clue about other cultures, just screaming and yelling at them. And it's disgusting. It truly is disgusting. This is not the London I grew up in, not at all. Tangible actions. I understand Danalynn says about education, but education is one of those ones that needs to be that people want to be educated. And that's the issue we're facing right now, is we have so many people that are just walking around with blinders on, or they have their cell phones on, and all they believe is one little thing, but they're not actually researching it. They're not even taking the time to learn about other cultures. And that's where the biggest issue is right now. They get in their one little mindset, and they don't want to turn or change directions and look at someone else, if someone is doing something else that's better, or where this next idea is coming from. Personally, education is one thing, but I think we need to have a lot more events to teach people. Like she said, the International Food Festival. My brother puts on the International Food Festival
That's
every
time
year.
there, Steve.
And no one.
No worries. Okay, so we have 15 minutes left, so maybe what I'll do is we'll do one more question from the pre-drawn questions, and then open up to the audience to see if there's any questions. And if there are a few, we'll go to those, and if not, we can go back to the pre-drawn questions for the rest of the evening. All right, on a bit of a different topic now, we're talking about unemployment. So London's poverty rate is a little over 15%, which is higher than the national average. What tangible actions do you believe need to happen in order to change this trend? Steve, you can start.
Well, I spoke about this earlier. One of the issues is just accessibility to employment. Poverty rate is also not being able to get to a job. You can't get to the work, well, then you're not going to get yourself out of poverty, and that's one of the issues. Like I was saying before, the transit system needs to work for the people so people can get to the jobs and they can actually survive. Right now, we have people that are really at the very bottom rung of the ladder, and I don't think another tax increase or another rent increase, it'll put them over the edge. And for poverty, we are literally going to have to work with the province to figure out how we can come up with an income that people can live on. Right now, our market, we look at our rents and we go, okay, we're basing it on what the market rent can bear, but that's the wrong direction. We should be looking at it from what someone can afford. You look at ODSP and you go, okay, someone making $1,200 a month. Well, how are they going to afford a unit in this brand new complex they want to put over here when it's $1,700, but they're going to give us 15% off the rent? Well, 15% off the rent when we had a 26.1% increase in the last year in rental in London, that's not a decrease. That's not anything anyone can afford and get them out of poverty. We need to have a hard look at our rental system here in London and actually start talking about it from the right direction, not from the developer angle, but from the people and what they can afford to live in. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Let's go to Danalynn.
Well, we need jobs. Okay, so we need good paying jobs to come to London. Not the jobs, the mediocre paying jobs, but good paying jobs. And that's where, you know what, we can have the transit system roaming all over the place, but if you're only going to make $11 or $12 an hour and you can't feed your family, that's not going to work. So we need good companies to come to this city. We need to quit losing things, quit losing business to St. Thomas. We need to, as a group of leaders, to bring those jobs to our city so that we have and are able to sustain people's incomes.
Okay, and Sarah, please.
So I agree. There's so much we can do with transit and affordability, and I think we need to talk more broadly about affordability. People are living in poverty partly due to the rising inflation costs and stagnation of wages. Although we've raised the minimum wage to $15, we still see so many Londoners out here struggling to make ends meet, even when they have multiple jobs. I myself, up until recently, worked 3 jobs to make ends meet. And I do have a partner who also works a full-time job. So I really do understand people are struggling right now. And we need to look at this holistically and from an entire roundabout aspect, you know, creating more affordable housing options all over the city at every stage of our lives. I've talked to seniors who have no idea what they're going to do when they have to downsize and their houses cost more now and they won't be able to afford anything they want to move into. Also, maybe we can look into more community garden projects. If we promote community gardens and that sense of community and neighborhoodness, you know, people can start to grow food. I mean, I just started growing food this year, and it's been a great
time, Sarah. Thank you. All right. Well, let's see if anyone in the audience has any questions. Maybe you can throw your hand up, and I can go as far as this mic will go, and we can meet halfway. Okay.
Hello. All of you guys have spoken about the importance of educating the community on all different aspects, but I'd just like to hear some ideas of how you guys would like to implement that education. And like just broadly speaking, to make sure that you're speaking to the community of all different age levels, because I do find in particular the early teens and youth are being missed in our community completely, and they're becoming violent. I don't like that word, and I think that community needs to be focused on as well. But I just want to know how you guys would like to bring, broadly speaking, your education to the community, other than just saying educate, educate.
So can I just clarify, when you the education with regard to belonging or with regard to something in particular?
All of the topics we're talking about, like bring educate people, but I want to know how that's going to be brought to the community, to individuals, so that we're like learning what you want us to know, you know?
Okay, great. Let's start with Sarah.
Absolutely. 1 minute.
1 minute each.
I love that question. Thank you. I think for every age group, age bracket, we need to tackle education differently. So like somebody say, like you said, preteens and teenagers, we know we're all, even me, attached to our phones. So maybe we need as a city to develop some PSA strategies that target social media specifically. These places online like Reddit, like I don't think folks use Facebook so much, Twitter, Snapchat, those apps that kids are using on their phones. Let's target PSAs at there. For the older communities, let's go to the community centers. Let's start creating these community conversations. I just attended at Glencairn Community Resource Center a housing community conversation that was open to all ages. I think if we do community events, we do PSAs on social media, and we target each age group individually, I think education will be more effective for what we want to share with the public.
Great, and how about we go to Steve?
Thank you very much. I agree. Education is definitely the direction we have to go, but I think we need to work in partnership with our school boards and all our groups that we're trying to educate people on together as one, so we can actually create events so people will learn. The worst thing to do is trying to teach a 12 to 14-year-old. I know, I had two of them for a while. They seem to last forever. You need to figure out a way that, like you said, get in front of them, and it might have to be in their phones, because this is pretty much the only place you see a teenager these days, stuck in front of their phone. Other than that, I think we have to work with the schools and our local groups just to raise awareness. Thank you.
Great, and let's go to Danalynn.
That's a tough question, and I'm going to say that education, yes. Putting it in the schools, that's wonderful. But the mindsets of individuals have to change. And I think that when we see individuals who are of different walks of life in different areas, police officers, firemen, we know that, we're all living in harmony, and we don't see that in London, Ontario. There was a comment made by Steve in the newspaper about that I should be a 6-foot-tall male, and that that's what it takes to be a counselor. That's his perspective. So I had to educate him a little bit. So I think as going back and forth, we can educate one another.
All right, do we have any other questions from the audience here?
That community meeting at Glencairn that you spoke about, I was there as well, and although the focus was on people being evicted from their apartments on King Edward, which I think is a different ward, right? But I live on in the Pond Mills area, and on my street is a couple that has just recently been evicted from the house they were renting because the landlord found a loophole that allowed him to rent or kick them out. So it's not just some of these apartments, but the reality is that for people that live in places like King Edward, when we're talking affordable housing, that's already housing that is rock bottom prices, right? And so where are they going to find something that's affordable? The government keeps talking about building new housing units with a certain amount that's affordable. And I think their definition of affordable might need some serious consideration.
Is there a specific question you had for the candidate?
Is there something from the municipal level that we can do to help people, especially when we're talking about evictions like that?
I forget the order that we were doing. I think, Danalynn, you spoke last time, so you can speak first this time.
Okay. Well, I think the thing is that sitting down as a city council and maybe proposing a bylaw that kind of, I guess, would cap what a landlord can do. Now, I believe that it's a provincial type legislation that looks after the rental. So if we could possibly work with landlords and work with individuals in the city, developers, and maybe work towards a happy medium where we can, everybody's out to make that almighty dollar. And so if we could work with them and bring things down, I think that would help.
All right. Steve, please.
Sorry, what was the question again? I'm just having,
That's
it's
okay.
Sorry, I'm having a day.
Are you good?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's just hard to...
Yeah, don't push through too much. The question was what at the municipal level can be done to stop evictions or run evictions or different ways around evicting people from their apartments.
Well, like I touched on earlier, rentals in London have gone up 26.1% in the last month. We need our federal and provincial government to step in and do what they did for housing. Eliminate foreign ownership of buying houses. Do the same thing with our foreign ownership on our rental properties. Therefore, you can have foreign ownership, but we're going to charge a much higher tax rate on them. Because that's the issue we're having right now. We have people that are buying homes in London and they're subdividing them into rooming houses. We have people buying apartment buildings and turning them into profit centers. And that's the issue. They're seeing a chance to raise the rent and they're raising it every single chance they get. We need our province and our federal government to step in the same way they did for the housing industry. Thank you.
Alrighty, and we'll go to Sarah, please.
Thank you. The Glen Cairn Community Resource Center also does serve Pond Mills area, which is really exciting. They're looking to get more into our ward, which is so great. I think we could start imposing stricter rules and taxes on vacant lots and buildings to generate more income for future housing projects and disincentivize the behavior of letting properties sit vacant. We can also work with the province to talk about regulations to fight back. Bad faith landlords, like the Rent Safe program that wouldn't allow landlords to jack up the rent between renters, which would be so great. We could also look into the funding that is involved with the Middlesex London Housing Corporation that was allocated to them to retrofit the old units that already exist in our city that are also still sitting vacant. Also, we can reevaluate the current London and Middlesex Housing Corporation tenants' yearly inspections to ensure that people are being housed in suitable housing for their needs, like having a single person living in a 4-bedroom townhouse wouldn't really be meeting their needs. We could put a family in that townhouse and put a single person into a single apartment. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I think we have time for maybe one more audience question. See someone in the front row here. You have to come to me.
All right. So kind of a question for Steve, but also everyone. Steve, obviously you've made a mention of a long list of accomplishments in your time on City Council. Yeah. Would love to know what you think is your biggest failure on your...
biggest what?
Failure.
Oh, failure.
In the last 4 years on City Council. And if elected, how will you right that wrong? For Sarah and Dannelyn, what do you see is the biggest failure of City Council? How will you attack it if elected?
Well, I guess, Steve, you should go first.
You don't identify your failures that often. Failures in our ward. Not acting fast enough on Veterans Memorial when we saw it breaking down the same way commissioners did. That's something I think we should have done faster, because then I think we would have acted and got in on the warranty on that one.
Alrighty, let's go to Sarah, please.
Absolutely. I think addressing the affordable housing crisis, if I'm honest, we have so many folks who are living in our community, in the downtown community. It's all over London now. There are so many people who are experiencing precarious housing. There's a housing shortage in our city. And there are not enough supports for our unhoused community. I think we really need to come together as a council and think of new strategies that we can protect our renters, because there are so many renters in our city. They need protection just as much as homeowners do. And I think we've failed our renters. And so if we can implement something like a rent safe program like in Toronto, where we can build more protections for our renters, I think that would really help. I also think that we need to work provincially with the Landlord and Tenancy Board, because they have such a large backlog that renters can't even get things that are happening to them that are wrong righted. People are choosing to leave because they don't want to fight, because it takes so long to fight for your right to housing. Thank you.
Alrighty, and let's go to Danalynn, please.
Well, my issue would be the homelessness problem that we have in our downtown area. We've lost the entire downtown so far. We've got boarded up windows, smashed windows. The police are doing everything they possibly can to try and combat that. I don't know if you're aware, as a police officer, a former police officer, you sit in the hospital with an individual who has overdosed. You sit in the hospital with them for 4 or 5 hours. You may have 6 officers sitting with one individual, which takes them off the road. They're not able to look after the city the way they should. So yes, we failed with our homeless issue.
Okay, and I said one more, but I see a hand going up, so I'll make a concession here. You do have to come to me.
I want to make a very optimistic comment first. After years of working in an office, I'm spending my retirement working in factories. I worked in 3 of them through a temp agency, and now I'm at the new Maple Leaf factory. If you ever want to see different groups work together beautifully and harmoniously of all backgrounds, you have to work in one of these factories. I am telling you, people work well together, they support each other, and I'm talking Filipinos, Latinos, from Africa, everywhere. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable, honestly. And I guess my big question is, I feel Ward 14 is not always well represented at the council. I feel like we are the poor section of London, or the overlooked section of London, or we're the last one to get a lot of the benefits. I think, for instance, the walking trails are totally neglected. I go on there, whenever I'm not working, and, sometimes they're scary. I feel like there's garbage dumped all over the place that isn't taken care of. We are the low income or the low end, and I feel like we don't always get the right attention at these meetings. So I'm just wondering what, any of you as a group are going to do to kind of, make sure we get our share of the taxes back. Thank you.
All right, let's start with Danalynn, please.
Well, I know that Mr. Hillier said at the beginning of this meeting that he didn't like to be in front of the press. If you notice, the councillors who stand in front of the press, they have the community centers, they have everything that a community of a ward could possibly want. The squeaky wheel gets the oil, and that is where I believe we need to have a person who goes to council, speaks up and speaks for the individuals and gets the things that we need here. We have had nothing in this community, in our little Ward 14, for 8 years. 8 years we've gone without, and it's time that we vote somebody in who has a voice and who will speak up for Ward 14 and will take us into the next level, bring business, bring community centers, bring things to the youth here. That's what I promise you I will do.
Steve, how would you like to respond?
Well, thank you. First of all, at council, it is not where we do committee business. And when people start talking at council, it's because they didn't come to the committee to do the work. And that's one of the big issues we have. No, I don't care for the press that much, because I can get the work done without them, because it's a lot faster. The moment you get the press involved, it just drags on the situation. Talking about Councilor Lewis in Ward 2 and getting the community center, that was in the books long before he was elected. We have a community center approved in 2000 for our ward. It was put back because of COVID, and I posted about it. You can read all about it, the new community center that's coming. It will not fit on Osgood. There is no way to make it fit in there. The only way we can get something on Osgood Drive is through the neighborhood decision-making process, because they don't have the square footage we need. Thank you.
All right, and Sarah, please.
Thank you for your question, by the way. I felt that was a really strong question. I think it's all about making sure that our voices are heard as a community. We need to come together as a community and make sure that we, as people who have any political power at all, are listening to constituents like you and making sure that your voices are heard. I also walk the walking trails, and I don't feel safe walking them most of the time. I think if we are more aware of what is going on in our community as city councilors, we can go to bat for you for things, because we are passionate. about different things at this table, but the one thing I think we're all passionate about is helping the folks in Ward 14. And I do agree, we need to bring people. Ward 14 is huge. We are vibrant. We have such a mismatch of community members, rural, urban, from all walks of life. People should come to our ward. Absolutely. We have so many recreational spaces to enjoy. We have so many local business and business owners that need to be, put onto the center stage. And we do that by getting out there, voicing our concerns, and making sure that people hear us.
Alrighty. Okay, I think we are going to wrap up for the night. So we will give each of the candidates here 2 minutes to do their final pitch and let you know why you should vote for them. So let's go ahead and start with Danalynn, please.
Well, I think the reason you should vote for me is I know that I can get the job done. I'll bring new things to this ward. I'll bring a new voice, a new perspective to London. I can help educate through my background. I can help bring new policies and new measures to the community here and also to council. It's an understanding in council that if you look at the councillors, we have just one set of standards, and that is, if we look at Josh Morgan, Sean Lewis. Sean Lewis has come out and he's openly gay. And these are the people that we need representing us so we can look at them and say, yes, he's an everyday individual. He comes out and he does his job. He does it right. And that's the councillor that I'd like to be. Yes, I'm sympathetic with the police. I see what happens. They want 52 officers. Yes, I don't have a problem with that because I want to see London safe. I want to work for everyone. I want to be there for all. And this is where it comes down to. And, Mr. Hillier told me this, that yes, he did have a community center coming in this direction, but they didn't want to put it on the it would be the east side of the tracks. They want to put it on or actually it's the east side of the tracks. They don't want to put it on the west side. And why is that? That's because the new housing that's going in is high taxpayers. We need to start looking after everybody equally in London, Ontario.
Okay, thank you, Danalynn. And let's go to Sarah, please.
Thank you. I'll reiterate that I chose to run because I care about the quality of life of every Londoner in our city, and I really do mean it. I'm a frontline worker by trade. I've worked with the most vulnerable populations of London, and I've worked and rubbed elbows with folks who are not hurting for money, We have such a diverse population in this ward, and we need somebody who understands all sides from all areas. I think that it's so important to build, again, in Ward 14, this sense of community. Like I said, we're vibrant, and we have so much culture to offer the rest of the city. And it's so important to have somebody represent you that is just as passionate as the people in Ward 14 is. Thank you.
Alrighty, and the last word of the night to Steve, please.
Yes, I am white, straight, and over 50. And the news doesn't care for me that much. And you know what? It doesn't really bother me that much because it doesn't stop me from getting the work done. Yes, we are getting a community center, and no, there wasn't any discussion to try and put it on the other side because there was no land available to put it there. You need land for a community center, including the parking areas. I will not give promises that I cannot keep, and I will not tell you something that I cannot make happen. We are a municipal government. We have very little power. We cooperate as a team. I am one vote out of 15. We have to cooperate with each other, and we have to cooperate with the province and the federal government. I look to do things that fill me up inside. I don't give a damn about the press or anything else. I give a damn about helping you. Now, I'm hoping you will let me keep doing what I've been doing for the last 4 years, and I will keep moving forward and keep us all moving forward together. Thank you very much.
Alrighty. Well, please join me in saying thank you to the candidates for sharing with us tonight. Thank you very much. And thank you to all of you for coming out tonight. We really appreciate your time. And please do not forget to vote on October 24th. It's a Monday. Take some time from your busy days and make sure to cast your ballot and tell all your friends.
Vote early.
Yeah. On behalf of the Urban League, thank you very much. And I hope everyone has a great night.
Vote early.
Thank you.